looked at the deal with LIV, yes, we had to play these events, barring some injury. If we had an injury, people haven't played. There's been backups. But you had to play those 14 events. And I'm like, well, this is a way better deal than the tour. I'm getting guaranteed money. And I play less.
And Bryson DeChambeau just dropped a $500 million demand on LIV Golf, and the entire league is scrambling to figure out what happens next. According to reports from multiple golf insiders, DeChambeau is asking for $500 million to stay with the Saudi-backed league, a number so astronomical it makes his original signing bonus look like pocket change.
Money was a gigantic. It is the pretty much main reason besides family.
Absolutely.
Remember when Bryson swore up and down that joining LIV wasn't just about the money? He gave all these interviews about how it was about innovation, about growing the game, about team golf and revolutionary formats.
Every industry, no matter what it is, it's always been changing, innovating, right? And golf, I don't think, is anything different. Over the course of time, if we want to continue to grow the game or make the game more interesting, if you're going to keep it with hickory shafts and a balata ball and no technology, people are not going to be interested by that.
Well, apparently that revolution comes with a price tag of $500 million. But that's not all. You won't believe what else he's reportedly demanding as part of this deal. Sources say Bryson isn't just asking for money. He wants guaranteed appearances at major LIV events, veto power over certain team decisions, and enhanced marketing rights that would give him a bigger cut of merchandise and sponsorship deals.
So it was a business decision, first and foremost, and that's all there was to it. It's given me a lot more opportunity outside of the game of golf and giving me more time with my family and my future family.
This isn't just a contract negotiation. This is a complete power grab. And here's where it gets absolutely wild. This could be the move that brings down the whole experiment. Because if DeChambeau walks, LIV Golf loses the last bit of mainstream credibility it has left. The league that promised to revolutionize professional golf is now begging one of its stars not to abandon ship. And the asking price might be more than even the Saudis are willing to pay.
Money was a gigantic. It is the pretty much main reason besides family.
Absolutely.
Now, you're probably wondering why Bryson thinks he can demand this kind of money right now. The timing tells you everything you need to know. Brooks Koepka, Bryson's former rival turned teammate, has reportedly been in serious talks about returning to the PGA Tour. Koepka was one of LIV's crown jewels when he signed.
How tough was this decision?
Very difficult. I mean, it's been weighing on everybody out here for the past couple of years.
A 5-time major champion with legitimate star power and mainstream appeal. But here's the thing, if Koepka leaves, LIV doesn't just lose a player, they lose a storyline. They lose credibility in negotiations with the PGA Tour, they lose leverage with sponsors, and they lose the ability to claim they're building something sustainable. DeChambeau clearly sees the writing on the wall, and he's doing what any smart businessman would do. He's making sure he gets paid before the music stops. According to sources close to the negotiations, Bryson's camp explicitly referenced Koepka's potential departure as justification for the massive pay increase.
I looked at the deal with LIV. Yes, we had to play these events, barring some injury. If we had an injury, people haven't played. There's been backups. But you had to play those 14 events. And I'm like, well, this is a way better deal than the tour. I'm getting guaranteed money. And I play less. And
the message is clear. If you want me to be the face of this league while everyone else jumps ship, it's going to cost you. He's done more media for LIV Golf than probably any other player on the roster. The league knows that if they lose him, they're not just losing a good golfer, they're losing their most effective ambassador. And ambassadors who can actually win majors, those don't grow on trees even if you have unlimited Saudi oil money. Cameron Smith is excellent, but he doesn't move the needle with American audiences the way DeChambeau does. But listen to this.
Basically money driven? Is that what you're talking about?
There was a lot of financials to it and a lot of time as well. So I get to have a life outside of the game of golf as well.
If both Koepka and DeChambeau leave, LIV Golf becomes a retirement league for guys who couldn't cut it on the PGA Tour anymore. Every negotiation with the PGA Tour gets harder. Every sponsorship conversation becomes awkward. Every media appearance turns into questions about why the top players are fleeing. The league that was supposed to disrupt professional golf instead becomes a punchline. A case study in how unlimited money can't buy legitimacy if the product isn't compelling. According to golf industry analysts, LIV Golf has already burned through billions in operational costs with minimal return on investment. The TV ratings are abysmal. We're talking about numbers that would get most sporting events canceled after one season. Tournament attendance has been underwhelming outside of a few signature events. Sponsorship revenue is nearly non-existent because major brands don't want to touch the Saudi connection. And here's where the real problem shows up. LIV needs stars to justify the investment, and stars are expensive.
There was obviously some significant news in the golf world yesterday. Before we open it up to the room and the media gathered here, Bryson, I'm just curious if you want to share your thoughts on some of the recent developments.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm contracted through 2026, so excited about this year.
But when you built your entire league on poaching established players with massive signing bonuses, you created a situation where those players have all the leverage. Bryson knows this. His team knows this. And now they're squeezing LIV for everything they can get. Because what's the alternative? The Saudis admit failure and shut down the operation. That's not happening. So they'll negotiate, they'll try to lowball Bryson, and eventually they'll probably cave, because the cost of losing him is even higher than $500 million. There's another angle here that nobody's talking about enough, and it involves the PGA Tour's willingness to take back LIV defectors. The Tour has made it clear they're open to working out deals with players who want to return, especially if it helps unify professional golf.
It's an honor, really. I mean, when I came out here on the scene, people had a perception of me, and albeit I knew who I was, it was difficult to express that, and I couldn't say it.
Rory McIlroy has softened his stance on LIV players coming back. Tiger Woods has indicated he's open to reconciliation under the right circumstances. But the reason this matters now is because the framework agreement between the PGA Tour and the Saudi Public Investment Fund is still being negotiated. And part of those discussions involves how to integrate LIV players back into traditional tournament structures. If Bryson and Koepka both sense that a reunion with the PGA Tour is inevitable, why would they stay with LIV for anything less than generational wealth? They wouldn't. They're smart enough to know that their value to LIV is temporary, but their value to the PGA Tour could last their entire careers. So Bryson's demand isn't just about money. It's about getting compensated for the risk of staying with an uncertain enterprise when safer options exist. But here's what makes it worse. There's resentment building among mid-tier LIV players who feel like they were sold a vision of equality in team golf, only to watch the league desperately trying to keep its biggest stars happy while everyone else becomes irrelevant. One player reportedly told a journalist, "We were told this was going to be different, that it wasn't about individual egos. Now it's just about keeping Bryson and Brooks from leaving." What was the point of all this? Let's be honest about what $500 million actually means in this context. We're not talking about performance incentives or prize money over time. Bryson is reportedly asking for a guaranteed payment to extend his commitment to LIV Golf. To put that in perspective, Tiger Woods' entire career earnings from prize money are around $120 million. Jack Nicklaus made about $9 million in tournament winnings during his entire career. But get this, Bryson's demand would make him the highest paid golfer in history for doing nothing except showing up to LIV events and not jumping back to the PGA Tour. It's a staggering amount of money that reflects how desperate LIV Golf has become. They've spent years trying to build legitimacy, trying to prove they're more than just a vanity project for Saudi Arabia's crown prince. And now they're facing the reality that their entire strategy was built on a foundation of buying loyalty. And loyalty, as it turns out, is always for sale to the highest bidder. The timing of this demand also coincides with some uncomfortable truths about LIV Golf's long-term viability. Greg Norman, the league's commissioner and most visible executive, has reportedly lost significant influence within the organization. The Saudi Public Investment Fund has brought in new leadership to handle negotiations with the PGA Tour, essentially sidelining Norman from the most important discussions about LIV's future. When your commissioner is getting benched during the crucial moment, that tells you everything about internal confidence levels. But the situation gets even messier when you consider this. Norman was the guy who convinced players like Bryson to jump to LIV in the first place. He made promises about tournament structures, team formats, and revolutionary changes to professional golf. If those promises are now being walked back or modified by new leadership, players like DeChambeau have every right to feel like the deal they signed up for isn't the deal they got. If you're enjoying this breakdown of LIV Golf's crisis, hit that like button and let me know in the comments what you think Bryson should do. But back to the situation at hand, because there's one more factor that makes this even more complicated: Bryson's growing mainstream popularity. His YouTube channel has exploded over the past year, giving him a direct connection to fans that doesn't depend on LIV Golf or the PGA Tour. He's collaborated with other YouTubers, he's done trick shot videos, he's shown a personality that traditional golf media never really captured. According to social media analytics, Bryson's content reaches millions of people who don't watch professional golf at all. And here's why that changes everything: that independence gives him leverage that most professional golfers never had. He doesn't need LIV Golf the way LIV Golf needs him, and that completely changes the negotiation dynamic. If they refuse his demand, he can walk away and still maintain a massive platform and income stream through digital content. LIV loses everything. Bryson loses what exactly? Tournament access? He's already won a major. Money? He's made enough to last several lifetimes. They built a league by paying players to join, not by building a sustainable business with actual revenue streams. And now they're trapped in a cycle where they have to keep paying more and more just to prevent the whole thing from collapsing. But here's what should terrify LIV executives. Every player who demands a raise points to the previous guy who got paid. Every negotiation becomes more expensive, and eventually even Saudi billions run out or get redirected to projects with better returns on investment. There's also a generational aspect to this situation that shouldn't be ignored. Bryson DeChambeau is 31 years old. He's got at least another decade of competitive golf ahead of him if he stays healthy. The players who initially jumped to LIV, guys like Mickelson and Sergio Garcia and Ian Poulter, were at the end of their competitive primes. They got paid, they secured their legacies financially, and they accepted that they'd probably never win another major. But Bryson is different. He won the US Open in 2024, proving he can still compete at the highest level. And this is where his calculation gets really interesting. If he stays with LIV and the league eventually folds or becomes irrelevant, he loses prime competitive years. He potentially damages his Hall of Fame credentials and his historical legacy in professional golf. That risk is worth $500 million to him, apparently. And honestly, given what's at stake, it's hard to argue with his logic. Why would he sacrifice his prime years and his legacy for anything less than generational wealth? The PGA Tour is watching all of this unfold with barely concealed satisfaction. They spent 2 years getting hammered in the media for not being able to compete with Saudi money, for losing stars to LIV, for appearing weak and disorganized. Now they're watching LIV Golf implode from within, watching their biggest stars either demand impossible amounts of money or openly explore returns to the PGA Tour. So what happens next? The most likely scenario is that LIV Golf tries to stall, they leak stories about Bryson being greedy or unreasonable, they test whether public pressure might make him back down from the demand. But Bryson's team is smart enough to know that negotiating through media leaks is part of the game. They'll hold firm, they'll keep the pressure on, and eventually something will break. And here's what makes this endgame so fascinating. Either LIV pays up and sets a precedent that will cost them billions more in future negotiations, or they refuse and watch their league crumble as players flee to the PGA Tour. The broader golf world is watching this situation unfold with a mixture of schadenfreude and genuine concern about what it means for the sport. LIV Golf promised to shake up professional golf, to challenge the PGA Tour's monopoly, to create opportunities for players who felt undervalued. Instead, they created a bidding war that inflated salaries to absurd levels while producing a product that fans largely don't care about. Tournament attendance is down, TV ratings are embarrassing, sponsorship revenue is minimal. But what really reveals the failure is this: the only thing LIV succeeded at was making PGA Tour players richer by forcing the tour to compete on compensation. And now, with Bryson demanding $500 million and Koepka potentially leaving, the whole house of cards is teetering. The question isn't whether LIV Golf survives in its current form, it's how messy the collapse will be and how many players get caught in the fallout. Do you think Bryson DeChambeau deserves $500 million to stay with LIV Golf? Or is he just squeezing the Saudis while he can? Drop your take in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more golf chaos coverage. Hit that like button if you want to see how this whole situation plays out, because trust me, this story is far from over.